Okay, so here we have a function graphed, and they want us to figure out the equation of this function. So I've given you some notes to help with that. And it says the first thing to do is write the general form of this equation and find the midline. So let's go do that. So I'm going to write the general form. So it's going to be, let me write it right here, y equals, let me try again, a little different color there, y equals, hey, it's either going to be sine or cosine. Now, which one is it? Well, this one starts, at 0, right? At 0, it starts in the middle, doesn't it? Right at 0, it starts in the middle. And then it goes down and up. So which kind of function starts in the middle and goes up and down from there? That's sine. Are you aware of that? So sine starts in the middle. Whereas cosine starts at the top or the bottom, depending on whether it's positive or negative cosine. So sine starts in the middle. So this is a sine graph because it's 0 in the middle line. It starts in its middle. If it was starting up here and going down and up, then that would be cosine, right? So this one starts in the middle. So this is a sine bx plus c plus d. So let's find the various pieces here. What is it said next, if you look at the notes, next it says, so write the general form and find the midline. Okay, so let's look at the midline here. The midline goes right through the middle. Looks like it's 1. And it goes above and below that by 2, doesn't it? That's the amplitude. So the middle, and that's D, it says right here. Find the midline. D is the middle height of the graph. So we know that D is positive 1. So let's put that on our graph. Right through the middle here. There it is. So that's the middle of the graph, which is at positive 1. And as I said already, the graph goes above that and below that by 2. That's the amplitude. So that's A. So we've got the amplitude, and we've got the D, the middle. So this is the middle height, and this is the amplitude, which is how far above and below. But hold on with the amplitude. Notice something funny. This sine graph goes down first. That's a negative sine graph. They normally go up first. So if they go down first, if it goes down first, right? Because when I say first, I mean it eventually goes. It goes down. It goes back up. It goes up and down both. But what does it do first? This one goes down first. So that means it's a negative amplitude. That's what makes that happen. So let's come back here. This is y equals negative 2. That's what makes it go down. First it goes down, negative 2. All right, and its middle is 1. Now we have to find b and c. How do we do it? Well, we've got to find the period, which is the width of one cycle. So let's go back to our graph and look at the width of one cycle. So this graph starts in the middle, goes down, goes up, comes back to the middle. There's one cycle, but that goes beyond the edge of my graph. I don't know exactly where that's at. I could guess, but rather not. How about I just go the other way? That's also one cycle, isn't it? So let's do that. So it doesn't matter which way you go. There is one cycle. So from here to here, from there to there is one cycle of our graph. It doesn't matter left or right. It just keeps repeating that forever, doesn't it? Right? It goes boom, and then it does it again and again and again. Starts in the middle, goes low, goes high, back to the middle. And it does it again from the middle, low, and then high, and back to the middle, etc. Just keeps repeating this chunk forever and ever and ever and ever. That's its full cycle. And then it just repeats it, repeats it, repeats it. So the period is the width of one cycle. Period is the width of one cycle. So what is the period here? The period, what is the width? It goes from -4 to 0. It's 4. Now, you might say, well, it's -4. It's negative. No. It's width, right? If I said, what's the width of that table? And somebody said -4, you would give them a funny look, wouldn't you? Because width is not negative. Remember, period is width. It's always positive. So the period's 4, the width of one cycle. So what about it? Well, then the period formula is 2 pi over b. So then we use that. So the period is positive 4, and the period is 2 pi over b. So we can use that to solve for b now. Put this over 1, diagonal, 2 pi times 1 is 4 times b. 2 pi times 1 is just 2 pi. How do we solve for b? Divide by 4. Boom. And then 2 goes into 4 2 times. B is pi over 2. So we got our hands on b. So let's put that in there. Now, last thing we need is c. How are we going to get c? Come on down here. So we got b. To find c, the middle of the sine graph so there's no horizontal shift. So let's talk about horizontal shift. This graph we're looking at has no horizontal shift. What do I mean? Well, here's where he starts, which is right on 0. You see, if that middle was off of 0 a little bit, let me give you an example. Like, what am I talking about? Well, I mean, like, what if the middle was like right about there, just off a little bit, and then it went, a couple higher this way, and then down like over here. Well, that's too far, huh? It's supposed to go up 2 and down 2, so like over there and there, If the middle wasn't right at 0, right in the middle line, but ours is, boom, right there. It starts smack on 0 for its middle, so it has no horizontal shift. Ours does. So we'll write up here, the horizontal shift is 0. There's no shifting. Ours has not been shifted to the left or to the right. The center is right on the center, is right on 0. The center is right on 0. So there's no horizontal shift, or the horizontal shift equals 0. How about that? Horizontal shift is 0. It has not been shifted at all. And then there's a formula for horizontal shift, right? Horizontal shift is -c over b. So -c over b is 0. And we know what b is right there. B is pi over 2. So we get -c over pi over 2 is 0. So now we can solve this. Put this over 1, diagonal. Minus c times 1 is 0. Times pi over 2. Minus c times 1 is just minus c. 0 times anything is 0. Divide by -1. C is just 0. And that's always the case. When you have no horizontal shift, c is going to end up being 0. So what's our equation here? It's -2 sine. What did b turn out to be? Pi over 2, right? Yeah, b is pi over 2. So pi over 2x. The c is 0. And then there's a +1 out there. So there we go. There's the equation for that graph.